Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to M4JR here on F1 2022, or F1 22 to give it its correct name. We are here then at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix weekend. We've got two races for you today, or two race weekends for you today. More on that in a minute. First of all, we are here in Great Britain at Silverstone. Before you think I'm the best racing driver alive, this is sped up, by the way, this Pirelli Hot Lap. I decided to do the one here, I think is it called the autocross, where you have to go through the gates. This one's quite fun. I did this challenge on the Racing Games channel as well, and for the most part, I quite like this test. The thing I don't like is here, where they decided to put the gates in a slalom formation, and they get tighter and tighter with each and every one, which does sound like a nice challenge, but I don't need to learn Silverstone because I know this track very, very well, having driven it in real life. But for those who don't know the tracks and they're trying to learn them, that's really not helpful. Unless it's trying to teach you how to warm up your tyres as well, there's no reason for it to slalom that much. Also, I went wide there. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I actually completely forgot about that. That's not very good, is it? And also the fact that, again, my technique might be different to others, but there's parts of the track here where I just don't get out of second gear. You'll see me downshift. In fact, this one I might stay in third, but down the Wellington straight there, I didn't shift out of second gear because there's no point. You're not going fast enough. Coming down round Copse then, and down the charge towards Maggots and Beckett's, but the finish line was just before that. And not bad. I believe I did, yes, I got gold, which I did when I did the challenge for Racing Games as well, which was nice and fun. You will see some crossover if you've been watching the Racing Games career mode. I'm not sure if that's continuing right now because there's a lot of other stuff going on, but the British Grand Prix is the last race I did in that series so far, whereas here it's only the second episode, so you can see the crossover will end soon. Here we are then for one-shot quali at Silverstone. Now, Silverstone is a track where on my day I can really put my foot down and make stuff happen. And again, I believe I recorded this version of my British Grand Prix before I recorded the Racing Games one. So if you've seen the Racing Games one, you'll see a bit of a difference in performance. And that's one of the reasons why. Already there's a huge gap between me and Leclerc there. And that's not how you go around that corner at all. And then really slow out here because I spun a lot during previous attempts. Not in this series, but just in other times racing around Silverstone in this game. But then Brooklands, Lovefield and Woodcote here, I feel like I developed a really neat technique of getting around here in one piece. And by the time the race rolls around, I felt pretty good about this section of the track. Coming through the National Straight then towards Copse. Now, Copse is a difficult one because it's technically a flat-out corner. But if you don't nail the entry, you do have to kind of tap the brake a little bit. But you don't downshift, you stay in 8th gear. Same with Maggots and Beckett's, you can actually go around Maggots, for the most part, flat out. And then it's only at Beckett's here where you really have to slow down. You can downshift from 8th to 7th going through Maggots, but Beckett's you kind of have to downshift to 5th for the exit. Coming up to Stowe, I believe this is Stowe. In 5th gear, again, bit of a bad entry there. You're supposed to do it in one clean sweep. And then the final chicane and corner, I want to say this is club, this long right-hander here, but I'm probably wrong again. I did learn the full layout at one point, honest, but yeah, it seems to have slipped me by. But not too bad. Still qualified dead last, but I feel good for this one going into the actual race.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top three: Leclerc, Verstappen and Carlos Sainz. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Something to note here, I was actually a lot closer to the pack than I thought I would be, and Liam Lawson is an excellent qualifier.
Great Britain then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every year of the Formula One World Championship, extends that record further for today's Grand Prix. Straddling the border of Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire, the 18 corners of Silverstone Circuit form the 3.6-mile beating heart of Formula One. It's been reinvented over the years, with Turn 1 now the fast right-hander of Abbey, but the magic of racing is as strong here as it's ever been. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who will start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Perez, George Russell and Hamilton, Ocon, Norris, Bottas and Kevin Magnussen, Gasly, Mick Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel and Tsunoda, Albon, Fernando Alonso, Liam Lawson and Guan Yu Zhou, Stroll, Latifi, the engineer, and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, like I was saying just now, Liam Lawson, really good qualifier. He always gets pretty high up the grid considering the car we're in. But yeah, British Grand Prix, not bad start. Had some decent traction here for once. Ricciardo, obviously in a faster car, does get the jump on me here. Going around the outside of turn one. Thought I'd got the jump on Stroll there, in fact, but just missed out. However, without smacking into the back of Latifi too hard, I do get past him here. You go around the outside of, I want to say Village, and then this is Loop, I want to say. I did get the warning for colliding with him there, because I did kind of punt the back of him a little bit. But if you go around the outside of turn 3, you can get the inside of turn 4, which is a lot tighter. I would actually prefer it the other way round. But sometimes when you're racing, you've got to strategize. And that seemed like the best strategy for overtaking. So, got the jump on Latifi. That then leaves Liam Lawson in front of me, who's a very good qualifier. He is a bit slow in the race sometimes. Doesn't help when he's got his teammate slash boss smacking into him like that, but still. I don't think I got warned for that one either. I think they just, let him race kind of thing. Which I guess is good. Not really much to say about that. Here we're coming up to the final couple of corners then. I think there was a flashback edited out there. There was one earlier as well, actually, just after I hit Latifi. Again, not trying to hide the flashbacks, just trying to cut them out so you don't have to watch me going in reverse all the time. Managing to get past Lawson there. I am getting my elbows out a little bit more in this series. Trying not to get warned too much, but at the same time, not wanting to just lie there and be overtaken time after time after time. Here we are on the final lap. You saw Lawson there actually tried to get back past me. Latifi has got back past me at this point. There's not that much to write home about in terms of overall performance. Like, we're obviously still not winning races. We're not even finishing in the points just yet. But again, racecraft is getting pretty good. That's a really good line there through Brooklands. And then a little bit of throttle into Luffield here. I have stood on the Luffield Terrace there. Not on a race day, unfortunately. There were cars going around the track that day, but it was an exhibition event, I believe. But it's really surreal. Like, I always think of F1 as being this cutting-edge, modern technology, that kind of thing. And yet Luffield Terrace is pretty old school in terms of its design and its layout. It's got all the modern safety stuff between it and the track, but for the most part, it's like being back in the sort of 70s and 80s. It's really cool. I like it. I do like some retro stuff as well. Bombing down the hangar straight then, trying to chase down Latifi. I believe I'm catching him at this point. The Delta is coming down just a stretch too far for this time. If we had another lap or two, maybe something would have happened. I was thinking about dive bombing into the final braking zone here, but didn't really see the appeal. Only finished, what, 4 or 5 tenths behind Latifi though, which, again, that's a marked improvement on where we were in Bahrain, where I was really struggling. Racing in this game, you do get pretty used to it pretty quickly, but there is a steep learning curve still if you're not careful. So I'm overall pretty happy with this one.
Here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Fermé then. What a fantastic race. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit, familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again. So let's have a quick look at how the drivers' standings have changed. Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Charles Leclerc showed exactly how to manage yourself out on the track today. He was almost flawless out there. Incredible stuff.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari continued to extend the gap at the top of the table. Another team that excelled today was Williams, who make further progress up the table. Been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
So like I said at the top of the race, Lawson is a very, very good qualifier. He likes to put it sort of 18th, 19th, which it doesn't sound like much, but when you think about how crap our car is in Season 1, we went with the newcomer setup. To have a driver who can even put it above, you know, Stroll, Latifi, sometimes even the likes of Albon as well, and Vettel, I think, at one point, it's pretty impressive, in all honesty. Pretty impressive. So I'm now doing the time trial, can't remember what it's called again, here at the Red Bull Ring. I decided to go with this one. I know this track very, very well. I think there were some flashbacks that have been cut out here as well. Again, not hiding the flashbacks, I will point them out where I see them. There's another one. For this one, it was just a wet track, me missing the braking zones, not really understanding the dynamics of this car around this track. But I love the Red Bull Ring. It's such a shame that it's got Red Bull in its name. I think it used to be called the A-Ring, and that's a much better name in my opinion, but I'm very, very biased, I admit. This is a really cool track. You know, it's a proper test of speed, but also braking and awareness. If you're Sergio Perez and you don't know where George Russell is, then you're going to end up in that gravel trap on the left-hand side there. But for the most part, it's about trusting the car. And going around this section here, this little S section, that's probably the most I've seen a driver trust a car. And I include things like maggots and Beckett's and stuff like that. This is also a track that is notorious for track limits, which is something that I don't personally fall foul of, but I do see others fall foul of. And again, I found that quite funny during the Austrian Grand Prix. In all honesty, I thought it was quite funny just to see. Was it 5 drivers got done for track limits during the Austrian Grand Prix, and I think it was like 12 during the F2 race prior. It's a crazy track. It is a crazy track, but it is a lot of fun to drive, and I was really, really looking forward to getting stuck into it and getting out there and setting my one-shot quali, which is where we are now. So coming up here to turn 1. This one is, again, another trusting section. You can see there I kind of lost the back end a little bit, which lost me confidence in the acceleration. But when you're in the race, you can really throw your car around that corner. And boy, does it feel good. This is the only part of the track here, turn 3, where I actively struggle. Locked up in entry, and then tend to not have any traction whatsoever on exit, because you're still going uphill as well. So you're fighting gravity as well as inertia, and it can be a bit of a nightmare. Turn 4. That's what I call the Perez corner now, after what happened during the race. That was funny. That was very, very funny. I love George anyway, but to see him punt Perez into the gravel, that was funny. It's also where Perez last year suffered what I can only call ultimate karma, where he got punted off the track by Lando, and then he punted Lando off the track, and then he punted Charles off the track as well, and got penalised twice, which was really, really funny. Love it. Coming up then to turn 9. Meant to be in 6th gear here, but I downshifted too many. And then down into 4th for turn 10, which is a full downhill corner. I don't think you touch the apex at all. I think you pretty much fly over it, all 4 wheels off the ground. And there we are across the line. We are dead last again. I can't remember what the difference was between me and the rest of the pack, but I don't think we were too far apart.
Before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Leclerc, Sainz and Max Verstappen. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Never mind, scratch that. We were absolutely miles away from them. 3 seconds from the car in front.
So it is all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And the smooth operator, Carlos Sainz, completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Sergio Perez, and Russell. Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Norris, and Esteban Ocon. Gasly, Joe, Mick Schumacher, and Tsunoda. Ricciardo, Magnussen, Alex Albon, and Sebastian Vettel. Stroll, Liam Lawson, Latifi, and the engineer. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We will soon find out.
Now I hear what you're saying. Mark, why is this only a 3-lap race? You've been doing 5-lappers so far. Well, this is our first sprint weekend. There are 2 races here in Austria, this being the first, and the second one will come straight after, which is the main Grand Prix itself. As for this one then, pretty decent start for the most part, managing to get sort of alongside Latifi for the first corner. I was actually a bit disappointed seeing my delta there for qualifying. I think it's because I got a bit out of shape out of turn 1, and it took me ages to get my foot down to go up the hill, and that just threw me off completely. This turn 3 at low AI levels is always a car park, and that yellow flag was nothing to do with me, just for the record. I went round the outside there. I think Stroll and Latifi had a bit of an oopsie together. This AI straight line speed then, this is something that a lot of people have been talking about, and it was something I'd noticed during these races. I felt like, yes, the MyTeam car is slow, but I didn't think it was anywhere near as slow as was being portrayed during these races. Particularly, like, if you've got DRS and ERS like I had, that was naughty from Stroll. I don't even think he got warned for that, believe it or not. And that lost me 2 places. I didn't think my car was as slow as it was being made to look during these straight line battles. As it turns out, there is a genuine issue where the AI appear to have rockets attached to their backs for some of these straights. So it is on the to-do list from what I've seen from Codemasters, which is fair enough. I'm not expecting an immediate fix. It's not just something where you can go in, twiddle some numbers, and bam, it's done. There is a little more to it than that, but it's still annoying. Let's just say. There's me throwing it around turn 1. There you go, riding the curbs, getting all bumpy and lumpy there, but managing to get out of it okay. Latifi is absolutely storming up behind me though, and you will see that a lot still. And it is annoying. It is annoying. It's disheartening as well when you realise where your pace is compared to the AI. But at least I know now that it's not necessarily all my fault. There is actually some other forces in play. You know, the AI being supercharged isn't really anything you can help. You can be the fastest driver out on the track and still have them rocket past you on the straights. I mean, look at that. I know he's got better traction because he can put the foot down and I can't. I think at this point as well, I just decided, screw it, I'll drive with front wing damage. I really hated Latifi by the end of this race, as you can see. That was purely intentional there, just driving into him, trying to force him offline. He does, I think, get past me again at the end here, though, because he's got the inside line, which does force me wide, does it? Oh, no. I go completely off the track there and don't even get warned for track limits, which is nice. Maybe because he pushed me off. But here we are then across the line at the end of the sprint race here in Austria. That was my personal fastest lap as well. Thank you for the graphic, Tom. I'm not sure if that really matters as much for me personally in a sprint race, but it's always nice to know what lap was the fastest. And it's funny how many times recently it's actually been the final lap that's been the fastest.
Charles Leclerc, currently leading the championship standings, extends his lead even further with this result. It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Another team that excelled today was Williams, who make further progress up the table. With the sprint wrapped up, we now have our grid line up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Now you heard Alex Jakes say it there, which is not his fault by the way, but I will bring this up. Williams did not have that good a race. You know, Latifi lost a place and Albon did climb up the rankings, but nowhere near high enough to score points. So I find it really weird that the game picks Williams a lot to talk about having a good race when they really don't. I just find that very unusual. Here's the highlights of the sprint race then. We will go straight into the actual race after this, and then we'll show the highlights for both the British and Austrian Grand Prix afterwards. I had a good entry into turn 1 really. I just wasn't brave enough to take on Latifi, and then I wasn't brave enough to get my foot down, which meant I came out way behind. The yellow flag there was for Latifi being held up by Stroll. It was nothing to do with me. Again, you saw there I went around the outside quite cleanly, in fact. Lap 2, getting the jump here on Latifi. The other problem with the AI is they're lightning fast down the straights, and they're on rails when it comes to their racing line. If he's decided he's turning in on a specific line, he is not bailing even if I put my car there. Which, very annoying as well. You saw coming out of turn 3 on, was it the final lap or the lap before, where I just got punted and nearly spun round because the AI decided to stick to their line, which I just found very, very frustrating. They're little problems, they will get fixed, but right now they are irritating to say the least. And I do hope they get fixed very, 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 very soon.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg and to a circuit that in one form or the other has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position. A very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Verstappen, George Russell and Hamilton, Bottas, Gasly, Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris, Ocon, Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen and Albon, Joe, Mick Schumacher, Daniel Ricciardo and Sebastian Vettel, Liam Lawson, Stroll, the engineer and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Anthony Davison joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you here with us today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So here we go then, final race of the episode, starting in 21st place, with Latifi behind in 22nd. Again, not the worst start, losing the back end there a little bit. That's just me getting heavy on the throttle, I think. Something else that I've picked up on recently, I'm playing with no traction control whatsoever, but a lot of people have been saying in the comments of some Racing Games posts that actually medium traction control is more like what it is to drive an F1 car. And no traction control is way, way too hard. Now, I think I mentioned this last week. I'm actually happy with no traction control still right now because it's really teaching me how to trust the car, drive the car, things like that. If it becomes way too much of an issue, then I will switch to medium traction control, or at least low traction control first, just so I can stand a chance on some of these race starts and corner exits and things like that. You saw briefly there, I actually had to jump on Latifi. I was going faster than him. I then Alonso'd it by sticking a wheel on the grass, nipped around the outside there, another wheel on the grass, and got away from him, which is always satisfying when you pull off a move like that. We're already on lap 3 of the race here, by the way. This is the fastest lap of the race for me. This race kind of flew by. The sprint race as well, to an extent. I don't like the 15 lappers at times. They feel a bit too long, and I'm sure Tom will agree. Trying to highlight a 15 lap race is a bit of a nightmare. But these 5 lappers do feel a bit short. I kind of feel like there needs to be a level between, you know, 25% and 5 lap, because this does feel a bit short. You barely get going. I'd like a short race with pit stops still, basically, where I can change my tyres and show off what the pit stop animation actually looks like. So I do think it looks pretty cool. That was just, I lost my patience again, slammed into the side of Stroll, broke my front wing. But again, you can drive these cars relatively easily with a broken front wing. This one was a bit trickier than during the sprint race. Plus, I had an extra lap to go after breaking my front wing. So, you know, it's a thing. It happens. But coming up to the final couple of corners here then, turns 9 and 10, managing to get up into 19th place, which, considering I started 21st, sorry, might not seem that great, but there's a couple of overtakes there. Lawson, Stroll and Latifi all finishing behind me, and I'm not too upset by that still. I'd like to see Lawson finishing above me still, because if I'm doing well and my teammates are finishing ahead of me, then my teammates obviously doing well too. But he's learning. You know, it's his debut season in F1 as well. And as long as we're finishing above established teams on the grid, there's no reason to complain, is there?
For Ferrari today. And talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again. At the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race for our championship leader. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Carlos Sainz would be my first choice for this race. He had excellent race stamina, giving him the opportunity to charge through the ranks.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Meanwhile, good work from Aston Martin this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
So here we go then with highlights. First of all, we got the British Grand Prix. Thank you again, Tom, for those awesome graphics. They really do look like they're out of the game, actually. So that's a very, very nice job. Not bad start in the British Grand Prix. Much better than the Austrian Grand Prix start, actually. I said a good start, but it really wasn't. I forgot I lost the back end. Some of these races have been recorded like several weeks ago. I think these game came out for everyone on the 1st of July, and I think the British Grand Prix here was recorded on like the 2nd or the 3rd, and then the Austrian was recorded a couple of days after, and we're now, what, the 25th when this episode comes out. So you can see there is a gap between recording and doing the voiceover here. So you'll have to excuse me if I don't remember everything that happens as it happens. This car does look good. This car does look good. It drives terribly, but it looks good. I'm pretty happy with the paint job, and I think the sponsor logos fit a lot better this year as well. I know they've done some work with the colours with the sponsor logos this year to try and make them blend into the car a little bit better. Here's me getting past Lawson, or at least battling Lawson. I'm sure I do get past him, otherwise why would they show this? There we go, round Stowe. Again, when I was doing the Racing Games career, I found a lot of luck around some of these corners where you wouldn't expect overtakes to be made. Now, Stowe is a popular one for overtaking, but the final corner complex, I was also making moves which you just don't normally see. And I was really surprised still about my performance in Miami, which, if you've not checked that out, go check out episode 2 of the Racing Games career. I was very, very happy with that. Very, very happy. Right, coming around the final corner here for the end of the British Grand Prix, and then we're scooping onto our private jet, flying over to Austria for the highlights of the Austrian Grand Prix. This one, yeah, I love this track still, don't get me wrong, but it was a bit of a slog. Like I said, the race itself flies by, but when you're constantly being... You overtake up the hill, you get a good line out of turn 3, and then by the time turn 4 comes along, you've just been left for dust. It can get frustrating. Lawson being forced off the track there as well. He lost places from the start, which is also frustrating. I think Ricardo was down. Yeah, it was Ricardo who was down with us, but I think he took a grid penalty, which is why he's so low. That was a very, 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 very wide line there through turn 4, but I think I did gain a place from it around Latifi, which is not too bad. That there, I was nowhere near the apex of that corner either, but this is lap 3, so I think at this point I was a bit frazzled anyway, and struggling in places. By the time lap 4 comes along here, I've got the wing damage. I don't think the end plates are missing. I think it was just maybe some of the horizontal slats. Oh, well, that's not going to help. Oh, there's the wing damage. There we go. That's where it happened. Did lose an end plate, as it turns out. Half my moustache is now missing. But yeah, it's one of those things. I could have flashbacked. I chose not to. I didn't see the point. I am trying to learn how to drive a car with damage as well, because at the end of the day, that's the punishment for being crap, is you damage your car and you have to live with it. Coming up to the final set of corners here then on lap 4. Fighting with... oh, that's more damage. Whose wing was that? Oh, that's the... oh, wow. I snapped off the Aston Martin front wing. I didn't even see that. I don't remember that happening at all. But that is the end of the episode, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And, of course, if you enjoyed the series so far. Drop some comments down below. Let me know how to improve the team, the car, and all that good stuff. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.